Welcome to another edition of the CivBattleRoyale. My name is Dawkinzz, and this is episode 33. All aboard the Green Submarine. A world comprised of chaos and thunder finds ignitions from the most unlikely places, as blood gets thin. Empires rise, empires fall, as everyone awaits a new future. Where will the world's greatest empires end up when the clock strikes 800? For now, we're starting on turn 600. So, let's get right into this. We all live in a green submarine. All of our friends are on board and many more are next door. Hello everyone, it is I, user Amelia Likes Birds, previously known as Dark Anine. I've been a fan of the Royale since Mark 1, Inuit can still Winuit, me too. But as I grew older and more busy, I haven't been able to follow it as much as I would have liked. Well, none of that matters today, as I get to present to you all of my commentary. Our OC this week is the wonderful You Pick Civ Ball by user The Honesty Fish. It's kind of resonated with me because my dad made us move in the middle of a forest so no one could snipe at us. Seriously. I would make a DC sniper reference, but that's way too old for this audience. Once again, the wonderful tile-accurate map by user Edsy1991. Without it, I thought the Iroquois were the Shikoku. Oh boy. And the hand-drawn version by user Varia. As beautiful as always. Iroquois number 1. As someone who is actually 50% native, albeit belonging to a different but related group, it's really cool to see these guys doing so well. Remember when I said I haven't been following it as much as I would have liked? Well, in that little caveat, I thought Nepal were wiped out already. Well, regardless, the city of Nuakat is in the red and is surrounded on all sides by the Goths and Tongu units. Also a Parthian cannon near there too, but with no melee units they have no chance to take it. Second verse, same as the first. The Prussian city of Ostrava is in the yellow with Gothic units surrounding it on one side, and Malagasy and Zimbabwean units on the other. A very unique sandwich. Frankfurt an der Oder is in the black as Sami and Evenk units storm. As an early fan of Prussia, it's a shame to see our once cool little empire reduced to this. Ah, the Kamug and Chin border and... oh geez, every city here is severely damaged. And in part 2 of Civ's Amelia Already Thought We're Gone, Algeria denounces New Zealand. Meanwhile, the Gothic Kazakh Parthian border is loaded with units and defensive improvements. More Chin cities shown to be in dire situations as Manx melee units draw near. This border is going to be very interesting because you have the Kamugs on one side and the Chin on the other. But it's weird, the Kamugs declared war on the Chin, but the Chin seem to kind of have the upper hand. How will the Manx deal with all of it? Gone are the days where units could appreciate the beauty of the world and relax. Not a single land tile is left unoccupied as Moorish, Chin, Venetian, and Gothic units roam the countryside. As we see a shot of the North Siberian coastline, we see that things are much the same over there. The Nanets do, however, have 2 great scientists and a general. I wonder what they plan on doing with those. To the side, we see that Nepal has completed the Manhattan Project. May the gods of old help us all. As Ostrava is still in the red, the Prussian city of Brno is in the yellow. Also, how are the Ottomans still alive? Didn't they die like months ago? Now a shot of the South Atlantic Sea with ships from the Tongu to the Nazca. It's relatively calm waters for now. As the Nazca switch from order to autocracy, the Iroquois attempt to repeal the embargo on their new fascist friends. Meanwhile, Bainang attempts to make Bogomilism the world religion. And the Tongan city of Tapoa has just been bombed. However, at the current time, I am unsure who performed the crime. Alerted by the disaster, Topoa Sayasi organizes a fleet to investigate. There's also a stealth bomber near their fleet, but without a unit icon. I'm unsure who it belongs to. The previously relatively peaceful scene is interrupted as yet another bombing takes place. Why did they call it a stealth bomber if I can see it right there? I love the mishmash of dated units in these slides. Do you think the crews of older ships get annoyed that they're forgotten as their nations build bigger and better boats? I would be. We should unionize for better equipment. Also, a civilization either gained or changed their ideology, but I'm unsure which. Frankfurt still has not yet fallen, but the southern city of Bromberg has entered the red. It's oddly kind of depressing seeing the world getting so dystopian. Farms burning, military installations everywhere, once mighty cities reduced to shells of their former glory. We all knew it was going to get this bad, but still it stings a little. The city of Vladimir in particular appears to be in the black, though it's rather hard to tell due to the Gothic color scheme. Greenland is almost split perfectly in half, but as Strasbourg is in the black, perhaps Zimbabwe can get a foothold in the great icy island. To the right, I believe the Iroquois had just declared war on the Vikings, so perhaps their presence in the island will be kaput before long. Back in the mainland holds of the Vikings, border gore like I've never seen it. While the east is controlled by the Sami and the west by the Vikings, the center is a weird, abominable line of what I believe are the Goths. Lordy, just imagining navigating that makes me a bit queasy. Surprisingly, no settlements on what I believe is Svalbard, or is that Jan Mayen. About half of the land is under control of what I believe are the Sami, while a huge fleet of Viking submarines march under the ice caps of the top of the world. It was the worst of times. It was just the worst of times. One more final shot of the Viking-Sami border as Ribe and I believe Alta stare off at one another. Amelia's note, I actually have really poor eyesight, so I apologize if I messed up this stuff. Also, let's take a look at the right. We have the Sami have declared war, and now the Tongu have declared war. Who's next? Prussia takes the stinky city of Frankfurt an der Oder from Alaric, and I'm not sure where else I'm going to say this, but in WWE lore, John Cena is canonically the current reincarnation of Alaric, so take from that what you will. Man, this is starting to be a Royal Rumble, considering we're just talking about the WWE. In addition to the Iroquois, the Goths, Sami, and Tongu have all waged war on the poor little Viking state, and what appears to be the first skirmish of the Viking-Gothic War has just begun. I've mentioned it before, but you gotta appreciate the anachronistic stew that is the Cylinder. Classical warships side by side with submarines. Amazing. Uiha and Tofoa are both left in 0 health, and believe it or not, that little guy in the middle there is a Nazcan giant death robot. Let's see what they do. The first known skirmish of the current Sami Viking front. Yadni has a whole 2 units compared to Ragnar's 34 units from my count. A ship, which I can only assume is Ragnar's, was bombed, but I'm not quite sure by who. Meanwhile, his cities on Greenland have not gotten any stronger since. Literally, as Hiawatha's side of Greenland is significantly nicer than Raggy Boy's. Meanwhile, the Chin make peace with Palmyra. I don't really know what to say about this one. It's so convoluted that I ended up just counting how many civs were in the frame. I counted 8. Cities are taking damage, but aren't swapping hands as far as I can tell. I'm writing this at 1 in the morning, and for some reason my tired-ass brain pictured the Evanks as being like worshippers, and Brandenburg was their idol of worship. Well, regardless, the city is surrounded on all sides but one by the invaders. Oh boy, about a lucky Civ who caught a city, and though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh. Kawachi has captured Tafoa, proving him to be a fine replacement for Pachacuti, the Earthshaker. You know how some graphic mods like RED have a bunch of units on a flat terrain to show off their art? I'm getting serious vibes from that as a bunch of armies, including Scotland with composite bowmen of all things. Strasbourg is still in black, and I believe it's firing at a naval unit of an unidentified civilization. To the south, the Iroquois city of St. John is in the red as a Viking unit damages it. Meanwhile, Ragnar makes peace with Beta Israel, thank goodness. Tafoa remains in Kawachi's hands, and I sincerely apologize, but I do not know if this animation means it's attacking or being attacked. I rarely play past the medieval era, to be honest, but if I had to guess, it was being shot at by a Brazilian unit. Coyote's note, it was a Tongan airplane. I'm genuinely surprised the Ottomans have held out this long enough to see their once beautiful landscape turned into a cold, metal, and war-torn, well, they would have probably done the same anyway. As we can see, Palmyra absolutely dominates this region of the world, but Ottomans own just enough land to make movement hellish for them. Good on you. In Arabia, the city of Najwa is finally taken from Madagascar and looks to be in Palmyran hands for a while. What you'll also notice, that little eagle, is India's unique unit, the Garuda Trooper. It's a paratrooper replacement that can heal when nearby other Garudas, and when garrisoned can provide 1 uranium. Indira will have to put them and all of that sweet uranium to good use if they want to survive to endgame. Oh damn. Nuka Alofa does not appear to be long for this world as it's surrounded by a ton of Australian units. In East Asia, the Chinese mountainside and subsequent mountain settlements of Zhu and Daidao are being attacked, though the forces are a bit unclear. Elsewhere, Beta Israel and the Meidi make up. The Semi have taken the city of Ribe from the Vikings. That's pretty awesome. I hope they stay that way. As Ribe falls to the Sami, the Vikings take the city of St. John's from the Iroquois. Amazing. And Ribe falls again, this time to the Iroquois. There's got to be a word for when something like this happens. The mountain city of Kathmandu is in the red as Shikoku and Tongu surround the city. Alta falls to the Vikings. I'm not brainy enough to come up with proper words to describe this. The Nazca are killing it in their Polynesian conquest. Fun fact, it's speculated that the Inca may have had traded with Polynesian people groups, so that's pretty cool. The Kamuk city of Maragde enters yellow as the Chin city of Lanzhou enters black. The Viking victory proves to be short-lived as Alta is once again taken back by Eadne. The Californian Yupik city of Tlacopan appears to be the center of wanted attention by numerous naval powers. On a side note, Californian Yupik sounds like the name of a late 90s, early 2000s kids movie. Several Viking cities in and near the Italian peninsula are severely damaged. I, for one, like seeing the Vikings in a corner. I was a Manx fan in the beginning, even though I do like the Saltnum, but come on. The Vikings have had a good go of it. It's time to see them crumble. Potsdam has been captured by the Goths. They keep pushing forward, them with their long haircuts and black clothing and cool boots. Karma sure is a bitch, isn't it, New Zealand? The Métis and Australia both declare war. The Métis is one thing, but Australia being right there with all of those units spells disaster for the Kiwis. Well, Brno is no longer in any noticeable danger, and I may have missed it earlier, but Ostrava is now officially a Gothic city. Mua is still in Tongan hands, but I doubt they'll remain for too long. Also, fittingly enough, those borders are totally reminding me of the clouds in SpongeBob SquarePants. Meanwhile, I believe that's a Minoan vessel? I can only imagine what their thoughts and opinions may be during these trying times. Do they know what submarines are? Planes? Nuclear warheads? Or do they think these machinery are just tools of the gods of old? Australia is now apparently an autocratic state. Give us a big applause for our fascist overlords. You know, the 20s just... it's always difficult seeing freedom being tossed aside for fascism, but I've gotten kind of used to it since 2016. A golden age has begun. Also, total shout out to the Avanx with 4 nearly perfectly aligned cities. A nice spread of the absolute girth of Shikoku. Siberia is big, and there's nearly no spot that she doesn't at least border. Haida is big, but slowing. Their only current war is with the Yupik, who aren't exactly an exciting target. The Vikings take back Ribe, and a ton of cities are hugely damaged. I guess that's just the new normal. Dude, shout out to Elbing. Despite being far away from the Prussian heartland in the middle of Siberia with a decent amount of unworkable tiles, it still manages to have a population higher than any of its neighbors. Also, the Nanette capital of Nadim is in red, with Australian units applying some serious pressure. Literally all of the Viking cities pictured have no health. It's just a matter of time for someone to swoop in, or for nothing to happen. Very few tiles in Europe are free of unit occupation, from the Tangu and Malagasy to nearby civs like the Ottomans to local powers. It's a bit of a cluster frick. Australia's military force in East Asia is large, but a bit stretched thin. Despite the land being few and far between, Oceania is definitely not a stranger to border gore. Yikes. Nuka-Alofa is still in the red, by the way. Although Kawawachi conquered a not insignificant amount of Oceania, their actual carpet is rather slim. Hope they fix that soonish. For what it's worth, it's rather impressive the Selknam managed to keep its original capital of Koes for this long. They gotta hold on to that statue of... I was gonna say Zeus, but it's more like Cthulhu. I think. In the shot of the east, we see a not too shabby but unfocused Selknam military force. Probably woefully unprepared to wage war with any of their neighbors, but possibly good enough to defend themselves for a bit longer. Important note that even though Australia's military is just strewn across the map, they still have a strong core going on. Even the moderately mighty New Zealand seems to dwarf in comparison. Cities begin to heal, notably Baoding and Maragadai, over in Northeast Asia. That's right, I said it. West Europe, the place where hopes and dreams go to die. Well, from a quick scan, I do not detect any major changes at least. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the lumberjack kings and queens of the Iroquois are the most happy people in all of the world, with nearly double that of the second highest guy, Sadan. Maybe police states aren't so bad after all. Well, that was my part. Kinda not expecting it to go down in the all-time greats, but I hope it was at least entertaining. I apologize since I was kind of out of my element. I'm an anthropology nerd, so I love going into history of the cities and such, but it's a well past the point that would be insightful. As for a shameless plug hour, I'm also a power ranker, commentator, and audio narrator for the Le Fon Royale series, excuse me. Though, due to time constraints, I haven't been able to produce much parts just yet. I'm also a super amateur Civ 5 modder, currently working on splitting the Inca civilization into 5 different civs. Do seafaring, horse riding, ultra versatile Inca sound fun? If so, look out for that in a million years or so. And with that, my name is Dawkinzz, the real audio narrator. Just kidding, half kidding. If you like this, then please like and subscribe, as I always tell you to do, because that's the right thing to do, and it's really cool of you to do. I appreciate you all being here. I thank you very much. And tune in for episode 34, which I've already had a sneak peek of, and boy howdy is it exciting. So stick around for that, but until then, we'll see you next time.